Hi guys, welcome again to my channel, Charlotte's Foliage. I thought I'd get in here today and just make my last film for 2021 and wish you guys a happy new year. Thought I'd tell you about my fails and my successes with growing certain plants. And if you have any questions or comments or any helpful information to help me be successful in 2022, I welcome those comments. So let me get my list out here and I'm going to share with you guys those particular plants that I lost and the ones that I was successful with. So we'll go right into the video. I had to write this down because it's so many. Okay, so some of the plants that I had problems with or I lost was the Moonlight Philodendron, an orange Philodendron. I tried my luck at String of Pearls twice, and I failed twice. I actually learned how to propagate them, but I didn't learn how to take very good care of them. I also lost a string of bananas, and I lost my Monstera Deliciosa. And for some reason, I lost that plant only during the winter months. And I was very disappointed because if you know about Monsteras, and I have one there, they are very big plants and they grow really well. So you get really excited about their growth and potential. And then during the winter months, I don't know what it is about winter, because I had it under a grow light, but I still wasn't successful at making the plant happy. I also had some Peperomias that I was doing really well with those, but then I overwatered them. I plan on purchasing some more because they're not that difficult to grow. You actually can tell when they need water because the foliage becomes actually soft, but it's actually a rubber plant. It's pretty firm. And another plant that I lost was a heartleaf philodendron, and I'll show you one that I have now that's growing really well. I'm almost afraid because winter's coming, but as you can see, this one here is doing really well, and it's just really growing. I did bring it in closer to my deck door so that it can get the south facing light. I lost one of those during the winter. And I lost a Philodendron micans, but before I lost all of it, I cut it up and I put it in water so that I could preserve it. And I have it here. I'll show it to you. This is my micans right here, and it's got some new growth there. And that's the thing about plants. If you have a plant and you're struggling with that plant, you can cut it off and put it in another vase or water or leca, or you can put it in some type of soil medium to preserve your plant in case you lose your big plant. And another plant I lost was a Pink Princess Philodendron. Now that is the plant that I've probably spent the most amount of money on, and it was doing really fine under a grow light, but then I moved it, and I think that's where I made my mistake. I moved it under a spectrum light, which is a really, really good light, but I think I gave it too much light or overwatered it. I'm not sure, but I was smart enough to keep some cuttings. So I have some in my greenhouse and I have some in leca here. I'll show you. That's it right there. It's in leca. And as you can see, there's a green point there, which is a growth point. So hopefully I'll have better success with her this time than I did the last time. Another plant that I didn't have success with was a Ficus Audrey. I overwatered that plant and I didn't read about how to take care of it. But I do have a Figgly Fig here, which is from the same family, and it's doing fine. So you're gonna find some plants that you're good at and some that you're not so good at. I have another ficus over here. My spectrum light is not on right now, but it's got a growth point on there if you look closely, and that's from the same family. That's a Ficus Lorata, and it's a variegated version. Eventually, I want to purchase me a Ficus Ruby. It looks just like the variegated Lorata, but it's more of a burgundy color. And oh, I lost 2 or 3 string of heart plants and string of banana plants, and I'm going to show you that I have some success with some now. This was a little bitty plant here. It's still a small plant. It's in a 2-inch pot, but it didn't have any string of hearts hanging, and as you can see now, they are. Most people will tell you not to water these plants that often, but what I find is that if you water them more often, then you won't let them dry all the way out because they like to be a little wet. So they're doing really well. I have another one here. This is a variegated one, and the other one here is just a regular string of hearts. Sorry for the camera moving around so much, but there it is, a string of hearts there. So I've had some successes and some failures, and I've had some starting over. Oh, here's a string of bananas. This plant is new. I haven't had it very long, but I keep it close to the window. Hopefully I can be successful, and next year around this time show you this plant and see what kind of progress it's made. So that is pretty much it. Oh, I have 2 more. I had a Rattlesnake Calathea that I overwatered, and I lost it. And I had a red Maranta that was beautiful. It was doing really, really good. It likes a lot of moisture. It likes purified water, and all of a sudden, I think when I cut it, and because it grew really big, I started cutting on it and putting it in different vases, and it seemed to decline after that. And I plan on getting me another one. I want a lemon lime Maranta and a red Maranta because they grow really well. So if you have any questions or comments below, or if you had better success at any of the plants that I've mentioned here, please make your comments below. Now, we're going to talk about the successes that I've had from learning from previous plants. And we've already talked about the Deliciosa, and we've talked about the string of hearts. So I was able to learn from those plants because of the mistakes that I've already made. So now, let's go into my successes. I was successful with a Rickraft Cactus, and I'll show you her. She's doing well. This plant started out with just 2 fronds, and now look at it. It's just growing and growing and growing and growing. And I don't take any credit for it. I'll tell you what I did. I put it outside. So when I put it outside, it just went crazy, and it's just been growing ever since. So we'll see how it does in the winter. I do have a lamp here to give it a little bit of light. Another plant that I've had success with, and we've already gone over some, so I'm going to skip those written here. Aglanemus. I do really well with Aglanemus. In fact, one of them grew so big I had to split it, and I left some downstairs for my husband. But this is an Aglanemus that got so big I had to repot it and split it up. This is another Aglanemus. Now this one here is kind of a slow grower. I might need to check the roots, but I haven't had any real big issues with this plant at all. It's a beautiful plant. And it does like to dry out between waterings. So you can let this plant dry out and it'll still be fine when you come back to give it more water. Obavada. I have a Hoya here. It hasn't, these Hoyas are slow growers, but yet it's doing fine. I purchased this plant from a lady. I think it had like maybe a stem or it was one cutting, and so it's still pushing out growth, but not very much. Another plant that I had killed was a Hindu rope, and here she is here. This is actually a cutting, and I propagated this, so it's weird because even though I couldn't keep the plant alive, I was able to propagate it and put it in a greenhouse. So that helps me know what kind of treatment to give this plant. And my problem with it was I was overwatering it. They claim that if the plant looks like it's kind of getting warped or wrinkled, that's when you water it. But to me, it's already wrinkled, so I had a difficult time trying to figure out what this plant needed. But I was able to propagate her. A plant that I had very good success with and no problems at all is this Tetrasperma. This is a Rhaphidophore Tetrasperma. And this plant has got new growth right there. There's a big growth point there. And this plant just continues to keep pushing out leaves for me. Lots of foliage, healthy plant. It likes light. Doesn't give me a hard time at all. Some plants that I purchased and I've had some growth out of it. I've purchased these plants from Ecuador, and those are Antheriums. There's one there, and there's another one here. And I'm still learning about them, but I was able to get some growth out of one of them. Snake plants, they're easy. I just took this snake plant, any Sansevierias that I have, they've been really easy. I had a bigger wellspring and it was growing and it was doing fine, but what I did was cut it and split it with my sister, and boy, was that a big mistake. And I recently found out why. Instead of cutting the root, I just kind of split it and I disturbed the plant somehow. I'll have to check with my sister and see how her portion is going, but mine died, so I had to purchase another one. I did get this from Plant Proper, and their prices are very reasonable. This is a high-low alocasia. I do well with alocasias. This plant is pushing out beautiful leaves. It's got a growth point on there, and I don't have any problems with alocasia. In fact, I have another one there. And as you can see, there's a growth point on that one too. And I have two more downstairs. Let me look at my list so we can refer back to what plants I've done well. Ponytail Palm, I did well with that. I still have it. This Cebu blue plant right here is just, I couldn't tell you anything bad about this plant. It's never turned colors on me. It's never dried out on me. It just keeps pushing out leaves. And it's even going up the vent here. This plant, you can't tell, but it's got growth just all over it. And I've never had one problem with it. It's in front of a south-facing window. And I mean, she's just healthy. I don't have any complaints about this plant. I actually should be propagating her because she's done really well. She's done so well that I hate to even cut her because she's done well. Scindapsus pictus is another one. This plant here just grows and grows and grows. It continues to make me happy. So does this Adansonii. That's been an easy plant that's really grown well. I did have some yellowing until I figured out what this plant likes and dislikes. I moved it over from in the corner there where that pothos is to over here in front of the south facing window, and it's done well. I have an orchid here that's doing well, and it's pushing out some flowers. I'll lean in close so you can see it. But yeah, these are a lot of the plants that I've had some success with. I've got a Hoya there that I've propagated. I've got a few more downstairs. I have some cuttings here of more pothos. And I have an asparagus there that's doing well. There's my Chinese money plant. I had to split that plant up because it was growing. So I've been doing okay with my Brazil, but in the winter is when I have trouble with that one as well. I have another Chinese money plant over here. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah. And then I have another one over here. So yeah, this winter will be hopefully not a big challenge, but instead I'll be able to find out what it is that I'm lacking. I'm guessing that I need to get another spectrum light. But here's another successful plant example. My Pubicalix, I have 2 of those, and I bought them over a year ago, and they're slow growers, but yet they're doing fine. I have another one in that corner back there in the brown pot. You can barely see it. And then I have my Sansevieria that's doing good. It's pushing out babies. I actually need to take those babies out of that pot and put them in another pot, so that might be something I do. This is a recent purchase of a arrowhead plant. I've also killed several of those, so I decided to put them under the grow light. I spoke to the lady at the nursery, and she suggested that I not let the water, not let the plant get dry. After 1 inch, I need to water it again, so I've been trying to stay on that. And that's about it, other than my plants in my greenhouse. But everything is going fine. I do have one more snake plant I can show you that I purchased, and I haven't had any problems out of it. It's pushing out new growth. There's some babies there. And that's another Sansevieria plant that I have. And I'll lean in close so you can see the new growth there. There's some new growth points. So I wanted to thank you guys for subscribing to my channel, and I hope that you'll continue to support me even in 2022, and that you will tell your friends about me. I appreciate all the love and support. Be safe and have a happy new year. Bye.